Yo soy Eduardo, but you can call me Lalo.
The Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli is a guide on how to gain power, how to keep it, and how to use it effectively. I think Lalo Salamanca may not have read this book, but this profound character is definitely guided by its principles. And Machiavelli's words confirm my statement. Lalo's smile and calm demeanor only heightens the tension and makes the other characters tremble. For example, as in this moment.
Hey, relax. Sit down. We're just gonna talk. Come on. So, tell me what happened.
Did you see when Lalo questions Jimmy about the ambush? He seems a little too calm. I thought he even seemed friendly. But that just increases the tension. In that situation, there's no question that Lalo has all the control. He's definitely the one with the power.
Tell me again. What? Tell me again.
His looks alone are enough to inspire fear. That's what Machiavelli wrote about. He argued that the power of appearance cannot be underestimated. And I'm not talking about clothes and style. I'm talking about the fact that you have to be able to give the appearance that you're worth something, or you can do something, that you have some qualities, even if you don't. For example, Machiavelli put it this way: everyone sees what you appear to be, but few feel what you really are. Machiavelli's advice is to hide your true intentions behind a mask of benevolence, to gain trust, but to act ruthlessly and only in your own interests. Lalo makes excellent use of these principles. In fact, he is a ruthless, bloodthirsty killer who wears a mask of benevolence. When Lalo is trying to figure out who tried to kill him, he doesn't get nervous. He doesn't act like a paranoic. He isn't furious, though most would feel a storm of emotion after the experience. But Lalo is the opposite. He's calm and rational. He takes his time and thoughtfully gathers information. To be a Machiavellian genius, you need one more trait: unpredictability. The philosopher believed that success goes only to those who think outside the box. A successful person sees and seizes opportunities that the average person might miss. A perfect example would be how Lalo escaped from the Mexican authorities. Most would break under that kind of pressure, but for Lalo, it's nothing. He was even able to turn the situation in his favor with ease.
Así que hoy en la noche voy a entrar ahí. Voy a matar a todos sus guardias y le voy a enseñar la evidencia. Y ya después, usted decide. Adiós.
One could even say that this situation could be a direct allusion to the phrase from the book, The Prince. Use chaos to strengthen your position. Fortune disposes of half our affairs, but leaves the other half or so in our hands. There's something else interesting Machiavelli said. I'm talking about virtue. It's a concept that refers to the qualities a man or a leader must possess in order to achieve great things. But what does this have to do with Lalo? Machiavelli argues that virtue is a combination of determination, skill, and the ability to adapt to different situations. And the ideal leader must possess virtue to manage unpredictable circumstances. And Lalo has all of these qualities with uncanny precision. For example, look at his brothers. They are beasts without morals or principles. Lalo is also an evil incarnate, but he's also a master strategist. For example, think of this moment.
Don Eladio, adivine quién. Soy yo, Lalo, y estoy vivo.
This is a true example of virtue. Lalo faked his own death to achieve his goals. This requires great patience and equanimity. Virtue also means using chaos to consolidate your power. Instead of taking immediate revenge on Gus, Lalo remains patient and gathers information to deliver a devastating blow that no one expected, not even Gustavo. And when comparing the power of these two characters, while Lalo balances between love and fear, Gus has chosen only one for himself. For example, look at what he's saying.
This becomes a much simpler matter. I will kill your wife. I will kill your son. I will kill your infant daughter.
Gus is an example of a ruler who chooses fear, but does so subtly and without overt emotionality, while maintaining control. Lalo is his own guy. He can be charming and funny. His subordinates respect him and are attracted to him. Like in this scene with the cooks in this kitchen in Season 5, But you and I still know that at that moment, if need be, he will sacrifice the lives for his goals. But that's not how Gus operates. He keeps his distance. He doesn't make friends, always waiting for a catch. He never lets his subordinates feel like he's his equal. But you can see Machiavelli's philosophy in both of them. If Gus is the patient lion, Lalo is the charming fox. Machiavelli argued that you have to be both in the same person, the lion and the fox, and Lalo is good at it. And he can maneuver from one to the other in the same dialogue, like this one. When Nacho entered the kitchen, he feigned surprise and delight at his presence, but even offered to feed him a burrito from the family secret recipe he'd made himself. But he said you'd never eaten anything so delicious in your life. You're going to die.
Nunca en tu vida has probado algo tan delicioso, ¿eh? De verdad. Mira, espérame. Te vas a morir.
Gracias.
Remember how Lalo came to be on the show? The situation was like this. Hector is in a wheelchair, Tuco is serving time in prison, the Salamanca family is rapidly losing power to Fring, and in order to regain the family's influence north of the border in Albuquerque, and Lalo arrives. He meets with Gus, and he comes right out swinging. Flattery first.
This is the best chicken I have ever had.
I'm delighted to hear that.
Then he turns on the fool.
Is there any chance, and I know the answer is probably no, but is it possible for me to meet the owner?
I am the owner.
Really? How lucky for me.
And then he puts him to the test, trying to provoke Gus into speaking negatively about Don Eladio.
¿Alguna vez te has puesto a pensar que ese Don Eladio es un cabrón? ¿Mm? Que tal vez le gusta esta mala leche entre nosotros?
Gustavo knows what Lalo's up to and says he's fine with it.
I am satisfied with the current arrangement.
And at this point, he's probably thinking something like, this Gustavo's definitely not stupid. Fring, for his part, is finally convinced that Lalo has come to his soul, and his lucky streak is probably over. This whole situation shows us, by example, what Machiavelli said in the Renaissance. He who wants power must be able to look honest and decent so that the people support him. He can do behind everyone's backs what he thinks is necessary to maintain power. Do you remember this quote?
You want to be a friend of the cartel? Time to get yourself a new motto. Just make money.
It may not be very prominent in the context of the show, but it does mean more than it seems. Lalo understands how one of the core traits in their business works: loyalty. It is that trait that is crucial in maintaining power, especially in a business like the cartel. Speaking of love, Lalo makes it clear that while their organization is built on cruelty and ruthlessness, they are also capable of love, if only it is mutual. As I said before, for example, Gustavo Fring uses only fear as a tool, and Lalo supplements fear with a personal connection. With this phrase, he also shows that he's a master at business. The whole main goal is to benefit everyone, so if you want to be a friend of the cartel, you have to prove you can be useful to them. But there's also a hidden threat behind it. If you don't, you automatically become an enemy of the cartel. He says it in such a tone that even to us, the cartel's show of love sounds reasonable, although in reality it is incredibly cruel. And remember how easily he charmed Werner's wife to get the information he needed?
Let's speak of something else. Tell me about New Mexico.
You would love it.
It is this charm and smile mask of friendliness behind which lies intelligence, calculation, and uncompromisingness that makes this character so intimidating. The most charming and therefore frightening villain. Niccolo Machiavelli wrote that one must know how to choose one's allies wisely and at the same time be able to shift the blame. And Lalo knows how to do it. He uses Jimmy in every possible way, although he pretends to do it in a friendly way. If he needs information, he will find an approach to absolutely any person. He can deceive and intimidate and coerce. Machiavelli said it this way: you can make people believe you either by fear or by promises. And here's what he said about promises. This, by the way, is one of the most curious and provocative quotes. An intelligent prince cannot and should not remain faithful to his word when it begins to go to his detriment. Lalo is not a sovereign in the classical sense, but he is the ruler of his own territory. I'm talking about the Salamanca family business. Word of honor and promise, in the reality of the drug cartel, lose their usual weight. For Lalo, the most important thing is to retain power and keep himself safe from his enemies. Therefore, if a promise he has made begins to interfere with these goals, he either revokes it or abruptly changes the rules of the game. Remember how he behaves with Saul Goodman? Lalo initially insinuates to Saul that he will be just a lawyer who makes good money and solves legal issues of the Salamanca family. But when you have to make him drive into the desert to pick up luggage with money and risk his life, Lalo immediately changes the format of the relationship. He's no longer a friendly employer. He presses Jimmy hard with fear, realizing that things won't move otherwise. In a world where every day could be his last, Lalo believes that sticking to his word is not just a luxury, but a direct threat to survival. If a promise hurts him, he'll be quick to renege on it without remorse. This is exactly what Machiavelli meant when he said that the prince can renege on his vows for the higher purpose of maintaining power and control. Throughout the course of the movie, you could see that Lalo can truly read people. He senses everyone's greatest vulnerabilities. Some are hungry for money and power, some are more worried about their families or their own lives. With some, Lalo plays good friend, pretending to be an ally, and someone takes someone in the turnover of harsh methods. The main thing for him is to get the desired result. It doesn't matter to Lalo what the victim feels, because humanity is not on his list of priorities. Like any prince, Lalo has his territory. It's his family business, his people, and his spheres of influence. He knows that any disruption could destroy everything he's built up for over the years, so he goes to deceit, guile, and even murder to maintain power. Machiavelli wrote that the prince must be willing to use force when soft measures don't work. Lalo uses it when there is no other way. But in the end, he tries to solve everything calmly, with a smile and negotiations. Even in the last seconds of his life, he continues to smile. As the series creator Vince Gilligan said, Lalo's amazing smile could have been the finishing touch. And that's it. Be wise. Catch you in the next episodes.